Welcome. Welcome, guys and gals. And one gal that might be watching. Well, 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 my friends. My friends, come, my friends. We have just begun our little adventure, our little absconce. We're absconding with the story of Aya, and it's going to be a long trudge. I don't even know if that's a real word or not, but we're going to be on a long journey, I would say, very long one. But we did write we hand wrote 6 pages yesterday. Fleshing out some scenes and continuity. I don't know why I got caught on that, but sometimes, I don't know. I was just kind of sitting there like, okay, I got work to do. I got these things. I got them all laid out. And then I'm like, realizing that I'm like 3 hours into continuity issues when it comes to a certain point of view of a story. And I was sitting there like, well, I'll change the scenes around. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever. I guess we just did that. And so I fixed up some scenes, basically. But as of now, let's go down here. As of now, we are just working on Aya's story. So how are we working on Aya's story? Well, we got to go back and start at where she's going to be and what's going to be happening in her story. So, in a sense, she's going to be uncovering a plot that within a culture, within a country called the Drana, there's a conspiracy growing that maybe the people in control of this place aren't who we think they are, right? The hidden one stuff, or the fucking, the Illuminati, whatever you want to think of it as. And she's going to be uncovering this and realizing that they themselves are creating some dark thing. And it's going to play a part of the story, separate from Eris over here. But it was so important that this needed to be said that I chose, like, well, I have to have Aya uncover this, because if Eris is going off to find self and to become this prophet, well, he doesn't got time to go back and realize the country in which he lived may not be the place he thought it was, and there's big evil bad guys that are in control of it, and there's a whole thing going on, right? I just didn't see the story ever going back there, so I decided to create this girl. Well, I had it for a long time, and then I just put her in it, and then she can be the one that uncovers it and stuff. So that means what we're doing here is I'm essentially trying to remember the history and say, how do we get to where we got, and what are these, I call them the Ossic Order. Now think of the Ossic Order as like this Venetian-y type, secret, quiet, bankers, but also hijacked mankind's mind and consciousness, and so they've taken control of like the church, they've taken control of the government, they've taken control of that monarch society that I talked about a long time ago, it's almost like a tribunal of monarchs that rule over because they have these mage-like powers. They've taken control of all of that for some sinister purpose, and while she's uncovering that in here, we have Nakum uncovering it off in his area as well. So essentially, all I'm doing right now is saying, like, how the fuck did the history go? And we got to come up with names and stuff, because, like I've said, Aya's in more of the higher society. She's kind of a, she's next in line for the throne of her realm that is outside of my country. But she's going to be dealing with aristocrats or politicians and shit like that. So I have to kind of come up with all their names and like, what are their titles and what do they do and shit. So as I'm looking through this stuff here, I found a paper back there that I began the process of, like, this is the head of this group, and then this is all the subsequent people. This is what the head of the police's name, and blah, blah, blah. Just shit like that, because it's going to come up. That's why I'm telling you, hers is going to be harder, because now we're dealing with like structures. Now we're dealing with like, she just, like, some aristocrat's not going to walk up to her and I'm like, he's just some nameless faceless guy, who cares? Like, he's got to come from somewhere, and found out that he's the minister of truth. Okay, what does that mean? And what is their goal? When were they set up? You know, what do they do as a government force? Shit like that is why I'm telling you it's going to be hard, because I literally have to create systems of government. And why is that hard? Well, I'm not into government. So I have to look up, like, how would the ancient Greeks have set up their societies? Or how would have, now what about the 1800s? Like, what was this society like at this time? And what are the governmental structures of London in 1843? You know, that's like literally what I'm going to be doing. So that's kind of why I'm telling you, this one's going to be hard, but it's going to be worth it, because there's going to be this, let's say, kind of Assassin's Creed feel to it. Of what should be uncovering. So if you play like the newer ones, like, you know, there's the, I don't even remember what they're called, the bad guys. They're always like the Illuminati types wearing the masks and doing the stuff, which the more I read about, the more I'm like, maybe they're the ones that are good. I don't know. I don't know if I believe in the Assassin Order. But anyway, so, and then there's going to be this group here that she's going to be uncovering, the Asuk and the father. Oh my god, dude, it's going to be like crazy. If I can fucking do it. It's a whole other story going on over there. In saying all that stuff, there's some sort of theme to this. And it's always looking out at created concepts, right? Of any description, whether that's how people govern themselves, how cultures keep their identity, or how any sort of group of people get together and do a goddamn thing, and then there's rules to it. There's ideas, there's concepts, there's creational thought processes within these little made up things. And groups of people agree to this stuff, right? And remember, we talked about the egregore, and I was thinking about, like, what kind of malevolent being would live inside a logos, in a sense, or I don't know. Like, let's pretend. So in my book, the Chantry, right? The Chantry. That is the religion of the Edenian people. Not the high class society. Anything above middle class, it's like, this isn't for us. The Chantry was created for the working man, the merchant, and, you know, like the fucking peasants and stuff. It's a sense of guiding concepts. It's a sense of guiding mentality, and how to make you be the person that they need you to be to walk down whatever road they need you to walk down. It makes you malleable to them. And when that was infiltrated a long time ago by the Asuk Order, I'm like, so this was established to give people some sense of how to be a good person. If you're like, boil it all down, like, what was its original purpose? Like, how to be a good service to society. They knew this was always going to be a thing. I know we struggle with that, but the idea is, like, the lower down you are, the more serviceable you need to be society. So in saying that, when a dark force infiltrates this system, what's infiltrating it will have to be the dark, like, malevolent being, the egregore, and what does it grow from that? So that egregore that was infiltrated inside of this Chantry is absorbing all of the stuff. So when the people pray to it, when the people worship, when the people ask favor for it or sacrifices to it, it absorbs this power. And I believe that is some sort of tool, some sort of mechanism that was made by higher beings long ago that allow them to use, like, almost like think of it as like a battery, in a sense. Like, it charges this thing up for them. Okay, the egregore has been charged, this malevolent being, though this battery is a entity, and they have to go in there, and as it fights them, extract the energy so that this yucky older Illuminati group can have this to use for said purposes. And I think that's what's kind of going on. So I know that's happening in the book, but when I think about this shit, I'm like, if you were to say that to me, probably way more concise, I wouldn't think, oh, you're fucking full of shit. That's not real. it kind of sounds like it could be happening, right? You know, there's groups, there's concepts, especially the high religions, or the concept of what America is, and all that fucking bullshit. I think that there is an evil entity, or just an entity itself. It's only evil because it goes against what we want. And it's absorbing all of this shit that we charge it with. Electricity or fucking, consciousness, I have no clue. And then these higher beings are using that as a fucking tool. I don't know what it was, but that's how I always thought of structuring society within Adrana like. Like, that's what they're up to. That's how they're doing it. It's not a good thing. It's supposed to be bad. It's because I want to talk about that more. I don't want to just have this dreamlike culture that's like perfect and great. It's Gondor. There's nothing going to go wrong. I really wanted to explore the idea of like how your culture that you might even love could be evil. I mean, shit. The minute we start talking about like it's a fucking myth is the minute you're like, I don't know, like, is there something really behind this? Chopping down a fucking apple tree and he can't tell a lie, or the Boston Tea Party, or all those stories that are fun and anecdotal and shit. And you're like, I don't know. My major goal with with Aya is I want to take speculations and really try to expose the dark underbelly of human society. So I've got this book here, and I'll grab it, I'll show you. And if you know who this person is, you might be like, dude, what are you doing? Adam Weishaupt. So this guy is the one they said, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he published a book called The Secret School of Wisdom, The Authentic Ritual and Doctrines of the Illuminati. It has been discovered to, in fact, be completion of the diocese degree of the Illuminati. So he was involved in the older Illuminati group. And if you know anything about this, like the older Illuminati group, they had their hand in some pretty sinister things because they're trying to bring about some sort of change. They're trying to bring about some sort of new world order, in a sense. Now, as a lowly person, you just get these dark, evil images in your mind when you hear that. But you got to think about these guys here. They're just trying to shift society in the way they see fit. I think it's best exemplified in those Assassin's Creed games, where it's like, they're not necessarily evil. They're just doing things that need to be done for the best of society, right? Now, say what you will about the French Revolution and all that dark, sinister shit. I really think they're trying to get away from the ancient ways that, like the monarchies and the charging of the king. I believe the king has been given these divine powers because the people around him are the thing that give him this power in this kind of spiritual sense. And from that point, what he does with that is he is the active consciousness of the people. It is something that was slowly built up from these like warlike tribes a long time ago when, I have the land here. If you toil on it, I'll let you fucking stay. You just pay me in the food and shit. And it turns all the way into feudalism. And going from that, I believe the job of the Lord is to be the voice and the consciousness of the people that are within the realm. That is what they're supposed to be. That is not what they always are. I believe that this is a walking away of that and saying, like, what if we wrap it up within a different sort of concept? And one that is more ethereal, one that is more of the material nature, one that is more of an idea, whether it be like philosophy or it be like some sort of other concept. What if that's where we put the power within, from the people? And there's like a whole thing going on with this, right? I don't clearly know because I ramble about it and I'm still like foggy. Like, I don't know how exactly this would work. But that's the thing that I've really been exploring. The thing that makes the most sense to me and what I really, really want to do when it comes to unraveling the darker side of society in the book. Now, when Jacob and Kevin would come to me about their countries, their cultures and shit like that, I was never a fan of like how it's just good. And they're trying to, it's not like they're the great culture, but there's nothing inside of their society that's killing it from the inside. It almost feels like too superhero stuff, where it's like, and the good guy will never lose. It doesn't matter because this guy is too good and he will not lose. I never like that because I'm like, that's just not how it is. There's always some infection inside of your concepts, whether like when it comes to like how we govern the people, or what our land is, or what is our country's identity. There's always some sinister shit inside of that. And so what I've done with Adrana is said, like, yeah, this is the best culture of the whole world. No one comes close. Adrana is ancient Athens. It is Constantinople of the Byzantine Empire. It is the Venetian Republic of that era, the Renaissance era. But they're supposed to be the greatest fucking thing that ever existed on this entire world. Biggest city, strongest naval force, military. It's not the biggest, but it is the strongest. Nothing could destroy them. But all of a sudden, we're starting to see maybe there's a group of people inside of the society that are changing it to make it stronger, but to get away from the old ideas like, hey man, monarchies and all that shit, that's weakening us. We can't rely on the people so much. They don't need as much power as they have. We need to have more of the power. Do dictate to them. We're on the political stage. We're the ones seeing the shit going on in the politics. We're seeing, this country's doing that. Like, we have emissaries. We're involved in this. Why would they fucking need to have an opinion if we should go to war or not? Fuck them. We're seeing this transition. But what I thought it was important was to say, like, it's not that simple. It's really not. Like, I think in our real world, I don't think it's that simple. I think it's much more complex than that. I think we're talking about gods, and we're talking about a religion and groups of cultists, if you want to call them that. I think that's what's really happening in our real world. Because the more you look into these, we're just going to use Illuminati type. I don't really know if that's the word we should use. Probably not, but let's just use it to give you a mental image. The more we look at these fucking people, the more we start to see this weird esoteric stuff. This devil worship, child sacrifice. You hear that weird stuff about those Jews in the political sphere, like the weird stuff they get into, or if you read like the Talmud and shit, it's pretty fucked up, man. You see that they're doing some evil shit in the name of some higher entity. Or they're doing magical spells and shit. Like, it is so fucking weird. I'm like, well, clearly we're seeing gods in contention here. So why don't I just take that, and it's in the book now. It's like, Adrana has a society that's built around the Forgotten King. It's built around Oapeg, the maker of mankind. They have always been this way. But what are the Ossics secretly doing? What if we tell you you're still worshiping Oapeg, but you're not anymore? You think you are, but you're not. That's not Oapeg that's behind your prayers. You just think it is. You're praying to another god, and you're bringing him power. Like, that kind of stuff. I'm like, that could be what's going on in Adrana. That could be what's going on in our society in real life. I don't fucking know. I have no idea, right? I'm never going to be able to prove this shit. But I can definitely explore it. Because for me, it was kind of quietly happening on its own. I was like, I always kind of thought this shit. And then all of a sudden I start like, watching certain YouTube videos or reading certain books and shit. And I'm like, wait a minute, this actually might be a thing. This might be going on. Like, everyone thinks it's about democracy versus republicanism or whatever they're called. Democrat versus Republicans, or they think it's like communist versus democracy, or they think it's some sort of little fucking dumb concept. Something simple. It's always that, like, we just got to do this for our country. And our country needs to do that, and they need to stop taking our tax money. Like, it's way bigger than that. It is beyond that. You know it is. Because if it's that simple for some pleb to understand, like, no, that's not what's going on. Because they think, like, these guys in the politics are just so stupid they can't get the basic shit right. Like, or they're doing something totally different. That seems to make more sense to me. I don't imagine our country's run by people going like, I didn't even know that we should have the taxes paid at this time. I thought we should have done that. Like, no, that's not who is ruling this shit. And so I take that to the book, and I just was like, how can I really make these ideas work inside of this story here. And I'll be honest, the thing that triggered me the most was the Assassin's Creed games I played when I was younger. And the Illuminati in that game, the Templars, are always the higher group that are just trying to do right for society. And if that means slave labor, and if that means, hurting people or destroying ideas of minds and stuff and taking away freedoms, so be it. It's for the best of mankind. Because we're fighting something that they will never understand. Even within our own government, our own religion. I think they know they're fighting some evil entity all the time, one that's trying to take over this material world. And they're like, these people will never get it. Just take everything away from them, make them the slave class again, because they just need to produce. That's all we want. Whether that's for the good of the fight, or if we've already been captured by this evil being, and we are creating something that we can never understand. Jesus, man, I don't know. But the more you think about it, the more it makes you go, I don't know, this could be happening. And so for me, I want to do that with Aya's story. So my goal is to, if you were to read it, is to make you just really see this dark, seedy underbelly of Constantinople. Imagine like the Byzantine Empire, and you're going in there and you're reading the account of Procopius, where he was talking about the Byzantine emperor's wife. She was a whore, and like all the fucked up shit she was doing, like really exposing, and how he was kind of a cuck to her and stuff. Like, imagine like seeing the real truth of it instead of like, oh, there was the greatest empire in the world, it was amazing. That's my goal, is to expose some of that sense of what humans really are. Because at the end of the day, humans are not noble in the sense that they want to pretend to be, or they hope to believe to be. There's no such thing as nobility when it comes to changing a concept of mankind. Not to say I'm an anarchist in any way, because I don't. I think it should all be destroyed, but that's just because I'm an idiot. But anyway, just a little bit of the underside of mankind. I don't know how we'll call this video, because we definitely have to get working on it. This might be an all-day thing. I tend to work longer when I'm actually handwriting than as opposed to typewriting. So we shall see you on the other side, and I will give an update with how many pages we've written. So I'll see you later, brother.